There is a bag by the barn door I want you to look at. 50 pounds of crumble, sewn shut across the top, with a price stamped on the corner that climbs a little higher every time the feed truck rolls through. A few years back that bag ran about $12. Now it runs better than 20, and his hens empty it faster than his wallet can keep step. A dozen layers go through a sack like that in 2 weeks, and then another, and another, all year, forever, just to keep eggs on the table. He does the arithmetic in the cab of his truck and decides that eggs, of all things, have become a luxury he buys from the store instead. Now come stand at my fence. Same dozen hens. The bag by my barn door has sat there since the snow melted, and here it is July and the thing is still better than half full, because my hens do not wait on it. They are out in the wet grass at first light running down grasshoppers, tearing the seed heads off the clover, kicking through the leaf litter under the lilac for the fat pale grubs that hide there. They feed themselves most of the year, and what little I add on top costs me, I keep the tally, I always have, closer to $1 a week than to 20. Same birds. Same eggs, only browner and better. The whole difference between that man and me is that he buys his chickens supper and I grow it. My name is Jonas, and I am Amish, and today I am going to walk you around my yard and show you exactly how a hen mostly feeds herself, and how the little you still owe her can be grown, sprouted, soured, and scratched out of the dirt for pennies on the dollar. Not one system, not one gadget, a handful of plain old habits stacked one on the next until that store bag becomes a thing you buy twice a year, not twice a month. And carry one question with you all the way to the henhouse door at the end, because it is the part that always makes folks laugh first and then go quiet. There is a feed richer than anything sewn into that store sack, nearly pure protein, the stuff that turns a tired hen back into a steady layer, and near every household in this country makes a fresh batch of it daily, holds its nose, and carries it out to the trash can. You will not look at your kitchen bucket the same way again. Hold that. Start where the hen wants to start, which is loose on the ground. A chicken was never built to stand at a trough, she is built to walk and hunt all day, and the plainest way to cut your feed bill in half costs you nothing but a gate left open. Turn a dozen hens onto a bit of grass and a fence line, and by evening they have eaten crickets, beetles, sow-bugs, spiders, the worms that surface in the dew, the tender tips of chickweed and dandelion and clover, and every weed seed within reach. Every one of those bugs is protein she did not eat out of your sack, and every green is a vitamin you did not have to buy in a bag with a picture of a hen on it. Watch what it does to the eggs, too. A foraged hen lays a yolk the color of a marigold, deep orange, standing up tall in the pan, and it does that because she ate the living green things a caged bird never sees. You do not need 40 acres for this. A movable pen, a light frame you drag to fresh grass every morning, what folks call a chicken tractor, gives town hens the same hunting ground on a suburban lot, and manures your yard in neat stripes while it feeds them. Where they walk, they feed themselves. Your job is mostly to keep moving them onto ground they have not stripped yet. Now the bucket by your sink, because this is where most folks go wrong in both directions. A hen is not a compost pit and she is not a goat, she cannot eat everything, and a few things on the counter will hurt her. But the greater sin by far is throwing good food in the trash when a hen would have turned it into an egg. Carrot tops, pea pods, wilted lettuce, the strawberry hulls, melon rinds scraped down to the peel, tomato that went soft, cooked rice, oatmeal, stale bread, the trimmings off the cabbage, that is not garbage, that is breakfast, and a laying flock will clean a bowl of it in minutes. Keep a lidded pail on the counter the way your great-grandmother kept a slop bucket, and let nothing edible reach the can. Here is the short list of what to keep back, and I want you to actually mind it. Never anything gone furry and moldy, for mold can sicken a bird the same as it would sicken you. Skip raw dried beans, which are truly poison to poultry until they are cooked soft. Skip the pit and skin of an avocado, keep onion and garlic to scraps not sackfuls, keep the green sprouting parts of old potatoes out, and leave the coffee grounds and chocolate for the garden, not the hens. Salt-heavy, sugar-heavy junk does them no favors either. Mind that little list and the rest of your kitchen waste stops being trash and starts being feed. Now the trick that stretches the grain you do still by, and it is the one my grandmother swore by: you ferment it. Take whatever scratch or whole grain you feed, tip it into a bucket, cover it with 2 fingers of water above the grain, lay a cloth over the top, and set it in a warm corner. Stir it once a day. By the 3rd day it goes bubbly and a little sour, smelling like sourdough or good silage, and that sour smell is the whole point. The same wild fermenting that leavens bread has partly broken down the grain, softened it, and multiplied the good things in it, so the hen pulls more nourishment from every kernel. A soured mash swells up as it drinks, too, so a hen fills up on less of it and walks away satisfied. Folks who weigh such things find a bucket of fermented grain feeds a flock 2 to 3 times as far as the same dry grain thrown on the ground, and the birds fairly run for it. Keep 2 buckets going, one soaking while you feed the other, and you have quietly turned 1 bag of grain into the work of 2 or 3. When the ground freezes and the bugs and greens are gone, the old folks did not surrender the hen to the store sack, they grew her a green field on the pantry shelf. It is called fodder, and it is nothing but sprouted grain. Take a handful of whole barley, wheat, or oats, the cheap whole seed, not the milled feed, soak it overnight, spread it a ½ inch deep in a shallow tray with a few drain holes, and rinse it under the tap twice a day. In about a week that tray is a thick green mat of sprouts and white roots, and a pound of dry seed has become 5 or 6 pounds of living green feed in the dead of winter. Run a few trays on a windowsill in rotation, one starting the day another finishes, and your hens eat fresh grass in January while the snow piles against the coop. A little seed, a little water, a warm windowsill, and you have beaten winter, the one season the feed companies count on to own you. And plan ahead in summer for the winter to come, because the smartest scrap of ground on any old homestead was the patch grown for the birds. Run a row of black oil sunflowers along the garden fence and let the heads dry standing. Come fall you cut them, hang them in the shed, and toss a whole seed-packed head into the run as a winter feast the hens will pick clean over 2 days. Plant a corner of amaranth and grain corn and let it ripen for the same reason. Set a comfrey plant at the edge, it comes back fiercer every year, and you can cut it 4 times a season for a barrow of protein-rich green leaf. And grow more winter squash and pumpkins than your family can eat, because they keep in the cellar till spring and a hen relishes the flesh and the seeds both. None of that patch is extra work once it is in the ground, it grows itself while you sleep and turns into eggs 6 months later. Let me stand back a moment, because I have handed you a lot and I want the shape clear before we go on. The hen hunts her own bugs and greens on the grass. Your kitchen scraps become her supper instead of your garbage. The grain you buy soaks in a bucket and stretches 2 or 3 times as far. Winter is met with sprout trays on the sill and a shed full of dried sunflower heads and squash. Every one of those is a place money used to leak out to the feed store and now does not. Keep that picture, because the last 2 habits tie it into a knot no store bag can undo. One of them costs you nothing and does 2 chores at once: let the hens run your compost pile. That heap of garden waste and old bedding is a living thing, and a week after you turn it, it is crawling with worms, beetle grubs, sow-bugs, and every kind of soil creature. Fence your compost inside the run, or let the birds at it on their rounds, and they will scratch that pile flat, eat the bugs and the sprouting weed seeds, drop their own manure in as they go, and hand you finished compost for the garden week sooner than you would have made it yourself. They turn your trash into eggs and their leavings back into your garden in one dusty afternoon of scratching, and you never lifted the fork. Now hear the honest part, because I would be a poor neighbor to send you off without it. Everything I have shown you stretches a hen's feed, it does not excuse you from good care of her. A laying hen still needs a balanced diet across the year, and 3 plain things you must always keep in front of her no matter how well she forages. She needs calcium, or she cannot build a shell, and the cheapest calcium on earth is the eggshells you already own. Rinse them, dry them on the back of the stove, crush them fine so she does not learn to eat her own whole eggs, and set them out in a dish. A bag of crushed oyster shell from the feed store runs a few dollars and lasts most of a year the same way. She needs grit, coarse sand or fine gravel, because a hen has no teeth and grinds her food in her gizzard with the little stones she swallows. A bird on open ground finds her own, but a penned bird you must supply, or none of this good feed does her a lick of good. And she needs clean, unfrozen water in front of her every hour of daylight. Dump it, scrub the green from the trough, break the ice in winter. Skimp on the shell, the grit, or the water, and you will lose far more to sick birds and thin shells than you ever saved on feed. This is a way to feed a hen cheaply and well. It is not a way to feed her carelessly. So let me total the tally I promised you, plain as I keep it in my own book. Through the green half of the year my hens forage most of what they need, and a sack of grain might last me 2 months. Through the cold half I lean on the fermented bucket, the sprout trays, the dried sunflower heads and squash from the patch, and the kitchen scraps that never stop, and buy a bag of grain and a bag of oyster shell now and then to fill the gaps. Averaged flat across all 12 months, a dozen good layers cost me close to $1 a week, against the 20 and more that same dozen would cost fed straight from the store sack. That is not a trick, and it is not a secret formula. It is a hen kept the way a hen is built to be kept, and a household that stopped throwing its feed in the trash. Which brings us, at last, to the henhouse door, and to the question you have been carrying. I said there is a feed richer than anything in that store sack, near pure protein, and that most every home makes a fresh batch of it every day and carries it straight to the trash. Here it is. When your food scraps go bad, the plate scrapings, the spoiled bits, the peelings left in a warm bucket, the flies find them, and in a day or two those scraps are working with fly larvae. Most folks turn up their nose and tie off the bag. But a fly larva, a soft little grub, is a packet of nearly pure protein, one of the richest things a laying hen can eat, and she is built to hunt exactly that. The old folks knew it and worked it on purpose. Hang a bucket with a few holes punched low in the sides, load it with the scraps that were headed for the can, and let the flies do their work. The larvae grow fat, then crawl for the holes to leave, and drop straight out the bottom, right into the run where the hens wait with their heads tipped up like it is Christmas morning. Free protein, grown out of the one thing you were paying the trash man to haul away, turning back into eggs on your table. Keep it downwind of the porch and it is the cleanest deal on the whole homestead. The richest feed you own has been in your trash the whole time. So here is what I would have you do. This week, leave the gate open an hour a day and let your hens hunt, and set that lidded scrap pail on your counter and let nothing edible reach the can again. This weekend, start 1 bucket of grain souring in a warm corner and set eggshells to dry on the stove. And come tell me down in the comments, I read every one, what your grandmother or your grandfather fed their chickens that never came from a store, because every county had its own trick and I am always collecting them. Next time I will show you how the old folks kept those same hens laying straight through the darkest, coldest weeks of the year without a heat lamp or an electric bulb, for the light, not the feed, is the real secret of a full egg basket in December. The old ways still work.